Open Humans is not operating around a monetization conception for achieving value in personal data. And I think that this is something that's an often unrecognized challenge in discussions around personal data economy. There's often an implicit assumption or a sensibility that data is a fungible good, that it's like gold or oil, and that it can be aggregated and then value derived in this interchangeable commodity way. And it's just not. It's highly contextual. The value is highly contextual. And in addition, it's not finite or limited the way oil or gold is. It's reusable over and over again in different ways. And so this idea that the way to achieve value in personal data is to aggregate and resell it, I think has a lot of challenges because it's not a commodity like other commodities. And so Open Humans isn't operating by that principle. What we want to see happen is to empower individuals and communities around their personal data to share and explore it for various purposes like education, health, and research. And ultimately, the purpose are what the individuals and communities want and not what we think they should want. And so in that, we've moved from thinking of this as a data altruism thing to a data empowerment thing. And in that empowerment, we work to help people create and build tools and form ideas and implement those ideas to use data on individual and community scales. Because Open Humans has a lot of flexibility in how people can use it, I think we're still working on how to improve that experience. But what happens is when someone joins the site, which is free, and becomes a member, they can then use tools to add data to their account. The other things you can do within the platform are things like potential data donations or altruism, so joining projects that may use specific types of data. And in that process, you're opting in to sharing requested data and participating in the project. But also we have this tool for notebooks to run data analyses on your own data. And so you can load Jupyter notebooks where somebody else has written code for running an analysis, and they've shared the code, and you can run that code on your own data with a private virtual machine. Very much came from research, our experiences within research, specific in genome data research, where there was a lot of research occurring where individuals would be recruited for studies, and that study would be generating data from that individual and sort of about that individual, and not giving that data back to the individual it came from. In addition, future research studies that might want to use that same individual and data in some new way were unable to do so without going through the original researcher. And of course, if the individual had a copy of that data, they could choose in their own right to work with the new researcher and the data that is attached to them. And so that was the original motivation, I think, in wanting to see individuals as controllers and decision makers in the process. I like to think of Open Humans as a type of commons. I'm a believer in Ostrom's conceptions of commons. And so when answering questions about governance, there's different ways in which feedback is occurring. One of the principles is that people affected by the rules should have input into the rules. It's been important to ensure that there's sort of, in practice, feedback mechanisms. One of the most important things that occurred originally in the design of the platform is that say you want to create a study that is inviting people to share data with it, any member of Open Humans can create this. There's no gatekeeping or separate status that's given to academic researchers that they get to create studies. Anybody can. And as a consequence, we do see citizen science studies or projects that are on the site And part of the governance in how we have to manage that also involves a community review process. So instead of relying on ethics boards in academia to do this, we had to come up with how do we have some sort of review process. And it's less structured, but it involves a public posting of an activity in which the community can all give input, and the projects can respond to it and improve what they're doing. At the highest level, Open Humans is run by a nonprofit, and that board of directors has a third of its seats dedicated to member-elected positions. And the process for electing directors, who are the ultimate controllers of the organization, is generally public. So both board-elected and member-elected directors come from the same pool of people who share who they are and why they're interested in being a director of Open Humans, what things motivate them, and what they want to contribute. The diabetes community has been active in Open Humans with a couple projects now. And I think that's part of what makes it interesting is it's not a single project now. There's a Night Scout Data Commons. There's an Open Artificial Pancreas System Data Commons. Dana Lewis is a member of our board, and she leads the Open APS Data Commons. I've also seen someone come in and help build connections to apps to get continuous glucose monitor data into Open Humans. It's really interesting to see how these projects are, I think, successfully showing how we're reducing these barriers or boundaries between the academic ivory tower and citizen scientists and technically savvy people who want to engage and contribute. So Open Humans was built and has been funded to date by grants from some generous grants from a couple different foundations. There's the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Knight Foundation around our original conception for Open Humans. And after that, funding from the Shuttleworth Foundation. Going forward, we still have reserves and funding as a nonprofit, and increasingly engage in collaborations with researchers. So the grants those researchers have are effectively either indirectly or directly helping support our work. And we're also increasingly seeing support from people, not monetary support, but rather sometimes more valuable than monetary, creating things and doing things that contribute to growing and maintaining the platform. I am confident that we have core members of the community whose interest and time is also very, very aligned, and that transcends monetary stuff at some point. Yeah, it's something that you can only build after existing for some years and having built a community. And a lot of ways, I'd say the community is far more valuable than the platform and the data. The data is not that valuable at all. It's the people. In practice, Open Humans itself is not generating data, and so it's not extracting anything that an individual hasn't somehow brought to the platform. One thing I would hope is that the features provided by the platform and the sort of community interactions, helping build projects that are not that sort of extractive sense. As an example, we have a current project which is going to be generating data about a marginalized community. And the idea for this research came from a member of that marginalized community. And it's about something that's not well researched. And this is a transgender project about the neovagina. And it's not well studied. And it's to assess the microbiome of the neovagina. And it's something that I'm helping with too. And I'm transgender too. So I'm really happy to do that. And Baston's helping. And one aspect of Open Humans that is helping this project provide a more egalitarian relationship with the people within it is that the data becomes returned to individuals if they wish to receive it. It's important to remember that people don't always wish to receive it, but unlike many, many other research studies, the data that is being generated by this research is going to go back. In addition, people who are participating in this project do have this ability to connect to the open humans community and to speak to any issues that they see in the project and any concerns. And it is extraordinarily rare in research to have this capacity for participants to talk to each other and to potentially join forces with each other and be critical of the project that is working with them. And that is entirely possible and doable in open humans.